Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another game of Skytear. I am the commander reporting here for duty to bring you the America's Regional Championship final game. Chris, or as we call him Cdubs, versus Tim, as we call him Timbunn, or potentially Timbunn, depending on his mood. We will see that Chris will be at the bottom of our screen, Tim will be at the top of our screen. Before the match, we did roll the dice, and Cdubs did win the toss, or I guess the roll, I should say. Did elect to go second. So we do see that Tim is bringing Hokusai to the field. Tim is running a green and red team consisting of Nelliklin, Hokusai, Yami, Zakol, Tilakali, and Ishatosk. Whereas Chris has a blue-green squad featuring Freyhill, Shilavi, Estrida, Nelliklin, Tilakali, and Zakol. Chris will respond to the draft. It looks like Freyhill coming first and Shilavi coming second. So we'll finish out the draft here, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the objectives and the outsiders to see what our players might go for as we see Yami and Nelliklin entering the field for Tim. Based on the final result here, with that, I might expect that we see possibly Zakol, as this is going to potentially be a very violent game. Chris is hovering the Zakol choice. Looks like it. Nope. Come on. Pick Zakol. Make me look good, Chris. So 1 out of 3 shots. Make me look good. Do it. Nope, that's not Zakol, man. Okay. Nope, put it down. Get Zakol. There we go. Well, okay, so, nope. Gonna bring out, who did he tint that? Nelliklin. All right, so we do see Nelly appearing for both sides of our players. Of course, Chris has nicely tinted his colors blue, so we will be able to distinguish between his Nelliklin and Tim's Nelliklin. So as you can see from our layover, oh, there is the Zakol. All right, faked me out. Excellent. Nelliklin will be the reserve hero, and Zakol will be the third one on the board right now for Chris. And we do see that Zakol will actually be the reserve for Tim. So these players will be running 2 out of 4 heroes the same. You see, uh-oh. What just happened? Somebody hit rewind time. Oh, no. I hope that wasn't me. Okay. Uh-oh. It can't be me. I don't have permission. Okay. Somebody accidentally hit rewind time, and it wasn't me. That's all that really matters. Because as long as it's not my fault, then I can't get yelled at. So give me just a moment here. I'll zoom back in, and then we will recap the final squadrons here. So as we can see, Tim is bringing Yami, Hokusai, Nelliklin with Zakol in reserve. And Chris is bringing Shilavi, Freyhill, Zakol with Nelliklin in reserve. Our objectives for this particular game, let me get these back on the board there for us. There we go. Our objectives are going to be Onslaught, defeat 3 enemy heroes, and Tactician. Capture the lead win the lead of a control token 6 times. Unfortunately, we may have experienced some bugging right now because of what just happened with the rewind, but that is life, I guess. Our outsiders of choice for this game. Chris will be bringing the Terror of the Endless Night, and Tim will be bringing the Dark Vigilante. So we'll go ahead, take a little bit more look at each of those heroes as they come onto the field and their special abilities. The Terror, of course, useful for dragging someone out of position, slowing and disarming them. The Dark Vigilante, useful for killing people, which makes it one of my favorite heroes. That being said, I do personally prefer the Silent Ambassador just because she has ranged on this particular map, but DV is still near and dear to my heart. So, taking a look at our decks here, Tim's deck, Punch in the Mouth, as it is called, for those of us who have been with us previously on the broadcast. Nelliklin is going to afford Tim Charm, Stone Barricade, and Rampant Hatred. Hokusai brings Skytear Discharge, Granite Skin, and Clear Mind. Yami brings Psychic Shield, Doom, and Impervious. Finally, Zakol brings Impervious, Shield Slam, and Stone Barricade. So very high flip modifiers, not a lot of greens, which means Tim is probably going for Onslaught. And as we know, of course, this match does have very high stakes, not just because this is the regional championships, but because of the prize, and the prize is the right to design a lore event with the designers of this game, PvP Geeks. And of course we know that Tim's lore option will be to manifest Carl as a reality. Who is Carl, you may ask? Carl is simply one of the background characters in the artwork of several of the cards at the moment. Tim has advocated for Carl's existence ever since Carl was discovered, and I believe that Tim will guarantee that as his prize, that some sort of a lore event brings Carl into Skytear prominence with his victory. I have absolutely no idea what Chris's lore prize will be, what he wants, so we won't commentate on it because there are many things and I'm not up for speculation on that. So we'll instead talk about Chris's deck. The GU New version 2.0. Freyhill brings Biding Time, Sinkholes, and Rampant Hatred. Shillavi brings Skytear Discharge, Psychic Shield, and Nourish. Zakol brings Skytear Discharge, Strength over Pain, and Sacrifice. And Nelliclin brings Skytear Discharge, Charm, and Stone Barricade. So a little bit more of a lead capacity for Chris's deck, but less offensive in terms of modifiers. He has the -1s, but Strength over Pain, of course, does guarantee Frenzy, and 3 out of his 4 heroes can play Frenzy, which means using the Frenzy card could result in a significant amount of damage, but we'll talk about that later, as Hokusai is the first to activate for Tim. Taking over the first place, over the center place there, is the first thing that you want to do when you go first, usually. Then we're going to go ahead and worship onto Freyhill using the Purifying Flame to deal 3 damage, 1+2 on the flip, to both Hokusai and Freyhill as piercing damage. And because Freyhill is in line of sight of Hokusai, she now has 0 armor. Finally, the attack against the minion does give Tim a 4-2 advantage in the lane, but makes it so that Chris can guarantee his win in a dome if he sends all of his heroes to the domes and leads with a 3, as Tim does not have any presences in this particular deck, because the presences are on Tilakali. So we will see, in this case, what the opening play for Chris is. Obviously, Chris probably wants to deal some damage early on to a couple of the heroes, kind of soften them up, due to the fact that Onslaught is on the board. However, with Hokusai being the only one in target, really your only options for heavy damage. Doom is going to be played on Freyhill, as she is the only one that Hokusai is able to reach. So perhaps she is the one activating. Of course, if with the worship action, that would make sense. If you have a Strength over Pain, you would be doing a double piercing attack against Hokusai. So that's what I expect to see there. We have not let that resolve yet. I think Chris is waiting to see. Oh, and the Totemic Slam comes out. Not where you really want to see that. That's unfortunate. Would have liked to have seen the Totemic Slam be used as one of your flips. But such is life. So that is unfortunately going to go to waste there from the Doom effect. I'm sure Tim is very happy about that, and I'm sure that Chris is not. Totemic Slam, of course, is Zakol's ultimate card, so he wouldn't be able to play that immediately as an actual card, but still useful as a lead, and if it were to go to round 3, Totemic Slam does a massive amount of damage if you can get both parts of the card off, where you... Oh, so Shillavi actually was active and then ended up worshipping onto Freyhill. So indeed, Chris was setting Freyhill up most likely for that Strength over Pain Frenzy play, which no longer is able to happen. As a result, we do see Shillavi moving over into the Dome number 3. I assume her final action will be a lead because she is already worshipped, and there's not really much benefit to skirmishing into that cover hex from where you're at. So we do see a lead from the hand. I assume that will be a 3 based on the deck that we reviewed from Chris earlier on in the game. And so now we have to see, who do we send into the Dome to contest? Now, Yami cannot get to Shillavi unless she has a fast, which I'm pretty sure I've already run through. There are no ways to get fast in Tim's deck. Nope, there are not. So therefore, okay, well, we're going to send Nelliclin over. That's fine. Nelliclin will be able to move, skirmish, and potentially attack. Although, no, okay, Nelliclin is not going after the Dome here. So we are going to see +2 on the skirmish. Freyhill down to 11 HP now for Chris. So we might just be going after Freyhill for a kill down real early if we can soften them up. And Tim realizes both the bear and the Dark Vigilante, very good at killing heroes, and a +3 on the flip sends Freyhill to 5 HP before she even gets to activate. And given that she has already been worshipped, she cannot use her own Queen of Life ability to heal herself up. So if Chris does not have a... Well, actually, no. Zakol can't play Nourish. And I don't believe there are any sacrifices in Chris's deck here. Let me double check that. No. Oh, wait, there are sacrifices. Okay, so Zakol might be able to heal Freyhill if there is a sacrifice card. But Freyhill already down to 5 HP with Yami still to activate. Move, skirmish, worship, not really what you want to do with Yami. So I think in that case, Yami will go to take the dome, and then the Terror Bear will come forth and probably pull Freyhill over to him and rip her to shreds with the regular attack. See if there's any other resolution from Nelliclin, as that has expended all 3 of his actions. Move, skirmish, and attack. Is there a magic card, perhaps, that you want to play? Perhaps a Stone Barricade. Let's see here. Oh, no, Tim's deck does not have the Stone Barricades. That was Chris's deck. I can't see anything here that you... Oh, no, there are Stone Barricades. I was right. I can't see anything you would want to take off of Freyhill at this point. So we do see Freyhill activating. Okay, and we see the -1 on the flip, so that's 0 damage, even though she's piercing. Skirmishes do nothing, do no damage as a base result. -1 means that there is no damage at all to Zakol, so... I guess now that I think about it, Freyhill could end up re-worshipping at the end of her turn, and that would allow her to use the Queen of Life passive to heal herself up, so I will walk back what I said earlier. All right, we do see an attack action, so that's going to be 3 damage to Hokusai. Hokusai down to 11. Does she use the final action then to exhaust herself, get rid of her current shapeshift mark, and then re-shapeshift herself to heal up? Because otherwise, Yami might... Well, Yami can actually come for you now at this point with a move, worship, and attack, because Hokusai would be within line of sight once Yami's adjacent to her. I think you need to heal here. Otherwise, Freyhill's just going to die. So unless you want to start round 2 with Nelliclin coming onto the field, although does Tim give up the dome in exchange for the Freyhill kill? That is the question. Because as it stands right now, Shillavi is uncontested in lane number 3, so that means that Yami could go in there to tie her, or Yami could go for the Freyhill kill. Or Yami could go for some Freyhill damage and then swing into the dome and finish with the lead and force Zakol in potentially to contest if Zakol had a 3-mana card. Additionally, dependent on... Well, actually, yep, no, if you teleported down to the lower hex, you could make it so that Zakol couldn't come in and just punt you out using his attack action. So we will see what the final result is. It looks like Freyhill's actually going to move. Interesting. Okay, so Freyhill is going to go down into the corner of the dome. So that means that Cdubs is trying to, I think, bait Yami into coming after Freyhill, as that would require a move and a skirmish and a worship action, which means that you would expend all of that just to tie the dome and then send Zakol in anyway. So what I think Tim would likely do is potentially move, skirmish, and then potentially worship on Freyhill just to get the mark back on her and do a little bit of damage. Okay, we're going to move here. We're going to skirmish. And are we going to lead? Oh no, we're going to lead. Oh no, we're going to lead from the hand. So in this situation, if Chris has another 3-mana card in his hand, then just send Zakol into the dome and give up a little bit of pressure in the lane. You get 2 domes. That's going to allow you to rip Nelliclin to shreds. Like, Nelly can go down here from the combined power of the Dark Vigilante and the Terror. Nelly is just dead. Okay, this this could be big if Chris is able to claim both domes. Because the Terror of the Endless Night can spawn right next to Nelliclin, and then the Dark Vigilante spawns... well, wait a minute. Actually, that control zone might go up enough that with the minions repositioning, the Dark Vigilante would have to spawn at Tim's base, and so therefore that would require... okay, so Nelliclin might die. I'll say Nelliclin might die. There's a strong probability. Well, no, that's again, Chris doesn't have a whole lot of... Low flips actually might ensure that Nelliclin lives, even through a double outsider assault. Chris would, of course, get 2 points on Tactician, which is still beneficial. But I'm not sure, actually, that he's got high enough flips to zerg down Nelliclin, depending on how the minions would spawn, which I think, based on the fact the control zone has to move 3, I think everyone repositions and blocks the Nexus spawn. All right, so Zakol is going to go ahead and go in there, move into the dome. I assume we either worship here to get a pillar down, or we skirmish and just try to do a little bit of light damage against Yami. It seems to me that getting the pillar down would probably be the better play, just to set up for Nelliclin's possible spawn. It looks like we're pinging right there for the worship action. Okay, we do bring down the pillar here, getting set up. And then finally, I assume we're going to have a lead action from Zakol. Otherwise, there's no point in sending him into the dome, as you are losing lane 1 right now, 5-2. And so there's the lead from hand. So most likely we're about to see Tim dramatically win lane 1, and then Chris get a double dome. Let's see how good of an effect he can make of it. Before that, do we have an end of round play? Hokusai does not have any mana, but Zakol is going to play Sacrifice. So Chris not wanting to take any risks from a turn 2 Rampant Hatred from Hokusai or any other shenanigans, going to heal Freyhill up to 9 HP and kind of say, you know, the Queen of Life will live on to see another day. I believe that should be everything. Yami can't really play any 1-mana cards that are effective here. Okay, so in this situation here, the control zone does advance 5-2 in favor of Tim. That gets him 1 point of Tactician. And the minions do reposition correctly. Okay, as I thought. So the Dark Vigilante must spawn adjacent to a Nexus or tower. Spawning there means that he does have to spawn against Tim's tower. And this is the reason that I don't like the Dark Vigilante on this particular map. Because if you do something like this and you win, if the map comes to this kind of state here where it's pressed fully against one tower and you wanted that tower as your spawn point, the other tower is usually rather inconvenient. So both beasts will come into play here. So let's take a look. Terror of the Endless Night. Place the Terror in a cover hex. Interestingly enough, he's not going for the kill on Nelliclin like I thought, which I guess is fair as he's not the first player. So if he doesn't finish the job, he would have some problems cleaning things up. You might also just want to get Hokusai and put him in the corner so he isn't really effective in turn 2. But nevertheless, Terror of the Endless Night must spawn inside of a cover hex. The the Nightmarish Roar allows us to push each hero, hit 1 hex, and apply a slow to them. Note that that is all heroes, friendly and enemy. The Dreadful Majesty, place target hero adjacent to the Terror of the Endless Night and apply a disarm to them. And then finally, Bloodlust, apply Frenzy to target adjacent friendly hero. So the Terror most likely going to use Dreadful Majesty against Nelliclin so that any piercing Rampant Hatred damage is cut in half. But we'll see how that works. Next, we also have the Dark Vigilante on the field, who, as I've mentioned, must spawn adjacent to a tower or a nexus, and then uses a bunch of augmenting abilities to buff his skirmishes. We have the Sever, which allows +1 skirmish damage, the Skewer, which gives you piercing, and the Slash, which allows it to be used against enemy minions. And of course, these abilities do persist for the entire activation. So if you take a Skewer action, your regular attack and any subsequent skirmish actions also have that piercing. So these abilities will stack up. We'll see what the Dark Vigilante does in this situation here. In addition, of course, we do need to bring their HP tokens onto the board. Because we do have Onslaught. And these heroes, these outsiders do count as heroes, which means you can kill them and get points towards Onslaught. All right, so Terror of the Endless Night is activating. The first action we did see was the drag, so Nelliclin is disarmed. We then see an attack against him. 3+2 on the flip brings Nelliclin's HP down to 5. So Nelliclin should be disarmed, I think, as a result of that. Now, the question here is, do you slow him or do you skirmish against him? Looks like we see a +1 on the flip, so I think he just skirmished him. And so, as a result, Nelliclin, I think, needs a disarm as well. Let's go ahead and enter that. Does Nelliclin get a disarm from terror? So, in this case now, this actually prevents the problem I mentioned earlier, because now the Dark Vigilante is able to attack Nelliclin without wasting an action. I did not think of that, I admit. And so we do see +2 damage there, so this is probably an attack. Okay, so Nelliclin just dies. So what we saw there, we saw the +1 skirmish attack that did 3 damage there. We then saw the attack. And so the Dark Vigilante does have... Oh, well, I guess it doesn't matter if Nelliclin gets a disarm because he's dead. And so finally, I expect this to be the piercing. So this one will be a +1 piercing skirmish against Hokusai. And this attack will deal 2 damage piercing to Hokusai. So Hokusai will fall to 9 HP. So, very good use of the Dark Vigilante play in tandem with the Bear, and this is why we see that losing both domes on the Ashen Pass can be incredibly brutal. Especially when you're running a mage, their HP bar just disappears. Nelliclin was at 14 HP at the end of the round, at the end of the Heroes phase, and now Nelliclin has been ejected from the game. So, that being said, Chris does have a bit of a situation down here at his Nexus where Tim has strong presence with the minions as well as Hokusai. So we will see what is going to happen now as the play unfolds. That being said, I'm not sure that Chris has a whole bunch of minion clearing capabilities here, as his Astrida and Tlacaali have the Bewitches and Call of the Packs that you would use to even out the minion pressure here. So we are going to see if Chris uses a bunch of attacks. Now, Shillavi Shapeshifted can dispose of 2 minions, so that is pretty useful there. That could be used as a bit of crowd control, and also Zakol is able to collapse a pillar with his worship action and deal damage to an adjacent minion from the removed pillar as well. So, that being said, between the two of them, they're actually going to be able to take care of 4 minions within 2 activations if Chris goes for a little bit more of a defensive play during this turn. So, let's see what happens here. Looks like Yami will be the first one to activate on the field. So, Yami has a number of plays that she can do. She's going to worship, I assume, targeting Freyhill. In this case, that'll allow her to move down, run through a minion or 2, and then quick shot the other one, or attack the other one, I should say, as Tim does not actually have quick shots. But nevertheless, allows him to remove both of those. And in response, Zakol plays a Stone Barricade. So, that means Stone Barricade allows you to place a friendly pillar that serves as a blocking element during the activation that it was. And from the worship action, we did see a +3 there. Yami does 1 plus a flip after teleporting next to someone. So that's 4 damage to Freyhill. Less armor because she is not within line of sight of Hokusai, so 3 damage. We then see a movement action. So Yami did go through the minions. An attack and the minions. So we did see the attack and move actions there, clearing off the minions. And so now, Chris has absolutely nothing protecting his Nexus in terms of minions. So, if he leaves the board state like this, his tower simply explodes. Now, of course, since Chris has all 3 of his heroes, and most of them are reasonably healthy, he will be in decent shape to respond. However, important to note that Yami's positioning there means that Shillavi is not able to get within range of of 2 minions, because she needs to worship, move, and attack. And from her current position, without a fast, she is not able to get adjacent to 2 minions in order to use her shapeshifted ability. So very good positioning on Tim's part to finish Yami's activation there. What could happen, of course, is that Freyhill does come and gives Shillavi the worship action, uses the worship action on Shillavi to give her the shapeshifted condition, and then Shillavi does a move, a skirmish, and attack to get rid of the 2 minions. Zakol does a collapse and an attack, a worship ability to use the collapse ability, and then do an attack action to help clean up the minions. Freyhill could potentially... actually, you know what? I don't know if I want Freyhill to lead in this point. She's got 6 HP. If he's got a Nourish in hand, then that would be okay. But otherwise, I'm not sure that you want to lead with Freyhill having 6 HP and the possibility of a +3 Rampant Hatred from Hokusai coming out. Alright, so it looks like Chris is going to activate Shillavi here. So we are probably going to start doing some minion cleanup. I assume we will at least see a move and attack, probably a lead at this case, since you can't get in range in order to do move, worship, and attack, and then use your passive ability when shapeshifted. So we'll see what the end result of the play here is for Shillavi. Let's see. What else could Chris possibly be cooking up here? We have some charms. We have some stone barricades. Neither of those are going to be useful in this situation. Shillavi can't use strength over pain. Not that she'd want to in this case. Yeah. I think Shillavi just goes for a move, attack, and lead action here. And then Zakol will end up doing the collapse. That seems to be the most likely play. But we'll see what happens. Also, yes, this is round 2. Tim has made 1 activation, and we are waiting on Chris's first move here. So round 1, we actually saw a fair amount of action that took place. We saw several heroes softened up, and then we watched Nelliclin get completely run down by the double outsider play. Chris did secure both Dome 2 and Dome 3, and so therefore poor Nelly, who was kind of out for a leisure walk in the lane, enjoying the sights of the Ashen Pass, was mercilessly grabbed by the bear, and then stabbed multiple times by Batman. And unfortunately has been eliminated. So we do see that Chris has 1 onslaught point as well as 2 tactician points. And of course, Tim had a dominating control of the lane, which gives him 1 point of tactician as well. So while we're waiting for Chris's choice here, since of course both players do want to take their time and plan out their moves very carefully, as we know that Skytear is a game of butterfly effects, I would like to remind you, of course, as I always have been lately, of Buggerlug's painting contest. We are currently running a painting contest for the Skytear minis. You can paint either one hero or an outsider. Whoop, okay, never mind. We'll talk about that later. So we are going to go ahead, and Freyhill is going to activate, it looks like, worshipping on herself to heal up. Oh, goodness, excuse me. Heal up 1 plus the flip whenever she became shapeshifted. So getting 9 HP total. Now I would feel a little bit safer with the lead, although we still do need to watch out for the Hokusai Rampage if we're Chris. And I mean, really, as the community comes together, we're all Chris. We're all Tim. That makes absolutely no sense at all. We also do see Freyhill playing in Nourish, bringing her up to 12 HP in response to the skirmish activation. So now, Freyhill, I would put her down there because, well, if you put her there, Hokusai can get to you with the skirmish bonus activation from a Rampant Hatred. So, okay, well, that's fine. So Freyhill does come out here. Who is he going to skirmish against? I assume Hokusai. Yep, okay, so against Hokusai, make that Purifying Flame less appetizing. 0 damage on the flip there. I assume the last action will be either lead or attack here. Most likely, actually, I don't know. I would say you would attack a minion here because, as I mentioned, that's 5 minions. Like, there needs to be some minion control here. It's almost guaranteed that Tim does some tower damage, but that can be mitigated. All right, so we do see the minion killed here. Chris really would have liked to have had those swapped where we did 2 damage to Hokusai and then 2 damage to the minion, but such is life. That is the RNG gods speaking. So we have eliminated 1 minion here. Pressure still on the Nexus, but slowly weeding it out. As I mentioned, Zakol can take care of 2 of them between his collapse ability as well as an attack action. Shillavi also can come in for an attack as well. And we'll see what ends up resulting there. So, as I was saying, Buggerlug's painting contest is currently being run. You can paint either a Skytear hero or outsider or a faction of the minions. You have 2 entries that you can submit, one on the painting Discord, the Discord's painting channel, as well as on Skytear's Board Game Geek website page. Those are due November 30th, so you still have 12 days to get your submissions in. And there are prizes available. First place gets the OP Kit expansion of their choice. Oh dear. Here comes Granite Skin from Hokusai. Okay, so Granite Skin gives you +1 armor, and then bonus skirmish damage equal to the armor that you have. So that's going to be 3 armor, +3 there. 3 armor for a +3. So that's going to deal 5 damage on the skirmish, minus 1 armor from Freyhill, does 4 damage to her. This does leave the possibility that an attack and a worship action might do the trick with high enough flips. Obviously, you would reverse that order. You would do the worship first in order to lower the armor from Freyhill, but that would also potentially risk putting Hokusai low enough that Zakol might just decide to kill you. So we'll see how that resolves. I believe I mentioned, oh yes, to the prizes for the painting contest as well. There is an OP kit offered from the Endless Sun expansion, so you can have either the OP kit getting a very nice orange translucent version of Kumaya and Shadris, or of Nantaka and Vorhild if you win first place. We are also offering Ashen Pass OP kits for notable and creative entries as well, as determined by the PvP Geek squad. Alright, so Hokusai is going to finish the round leading from hand. Also, for some reason, Hokusai is showing 18 HP. I'm not sure why that is. He has 9 HP, so the overlay is not reading that correctly. I'm not sure why, because pretty much everybody else has the correct HP, so I'm going to say we just blame Tape, and Tape will, of course, say that we blame Giacomo as a result, because we don't actually blame anyone other than Giacomo in this community. And while we are speaking of Tape, we would like to thank Tapes for his work on the TTS mod, as the latest update we did mention does include these nice little nameplates of the players at the top and the bottom of the map. Makes it very easy to tell who is playing and what side of the board they're on. So we do appreciate that update as one of the many quality of life visual updates that Tape has been working tirelessly on for some time now. Meanwhile, Chris now needing to contemplate his next move here. We have already seen Freyhill's activation, so Shillavi and Zakol go next. Hokusai is, of course, sitting on top of the pillar of Zakol, so we can destroy that pillar there in order to... Okay, so Chris is going to go ahead and skirmish, so it looks like Shillavi's activating. So I expect we'll do a skirmish. We're going to attack the minion, I assume. No, we're going to attack Yami. Oh, that's the finishing damage there. Okay, so 1 damage on the skirmish. Of course, Yami has 1 armor, so nothing there. I assume we're now going to do an attack action against the minion because we need to reduce the pressure there. All right, dead minion. Dead, very dead minion. That is 6 damage to that poor minion. Rest in peace, minion. We hardly knew you. And then I assume you have to lead here because... if you don't, then your tower is kind of going to go kaboom. So there is a possibility, someone from the chat suggests that we might shield slam the pillar whenever Zakol worships. That is very possible. Absolutely could be the case that Hokusai moves in there and just shield slams and makes Zakol a very sad person. We'll have to wait and see if a shield slam comes out, which also would explain why the rampant hatred from the Flux did not come out. So Zakol is going to go ahead and move. I assume he's probably going to do some sort of a worship as well. Nope, we're just going to go ahead and skirmish here. Going against Freyhill, this makes perfect sense. And then probably an attack. So 2 damage minus 1, so 1 damage to Freyhill. Brings her to 7. Is there potentially a stone barricade coming out that would force Freyhill into the dome from the attack action? That could be part of Tim's plan here and just overload. Yep, there it comes. A stone barricade from... That can't be right. That has to be from... Oh, goodness. That is a very big... Okay, those are really big pillars. Goodness. Okay. Anyways, so it said Nelliclin on the TTS, but I'm going to assume that Zakol played it because of where it positioned. So now, Zakol's attack allows him to push someone 1 hex whenever he attacks within line of sight of the pillar. And so now, Freyhill is going to get pushed such that she does not influence any control zone. She is now 4 away from the control hex, and she did not get knocked into the dome. At first you saw Tim potentially knocking her into the dome and then realized, nope, I'll just put her 4 away from the control hex, that way she doesn't get anything. In either case, though, I think that was a very solid move. And if Hokusai has a shield slam, then I think the game just ends. Because that would be a lot to not a lot. I realize that is a very scientific explanation, especially given that Skytear is a game of maths, and I am a math instructor, so I should probably give you something better than a lot versus not a lot, but, you know, we can't all be perfect, I suppose. Let's take a look here at the count. That would mean Chris would have a value of, assuming a lead of 3 from Shillavi 5, versus 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so if there's a shield slam, I think actually Tim wins by just enough with that play. Doing the quick count here, I think that it's accurate. That is a very quick count. And of course, again, it does assume that Hokusai and Shillavi both did play 3s. Oh no, that would be 9, excuse me. That would be 9, because there's 3 minions. So... It'll get very close. But I don't think it should be over. Actually, yeah, even with the collapse, Zakol could still do an attack action to kill off a regular minion, and that would be enough to save the Nexus. The Nexus will be in shambles, but it will not be completely destroyed. So this game does not end at the conclusion of this turn. Although Chris will be on a very, very defensive position. And going into round 3, I don't think we've seen the Supernova yet, which means Hokusai is in a prime position to just blast everything. So we'll end up seeing how that plays out here. Alright, so Zakol is going to activate here. I assume the first action will probably be a skirmish. Yep, first action is a skirmish action. Are we going to hit the friendly Zakol, or the enemy Zakol? Yes, we are. Alright, so skirmish. Tap him for 1 point of damage. Zakol does have 1 point of armor, so that brings him to 17. Finishes down there. I assume we now attack a minion. Dead minion. That is going to be a 5 damage to the minions, so dead there. And I assume you then worship. Oh, Zakol's going to go for the Strength Over Pain. Okay, so this is also a very good use of Strength Over Pain. Strength Over Pain sacrifices 2 HP in order to give your hero Frenzy, which means that another minion is going to die. So this is actually very effective. If Zakol has a... well, I guess that's all the remaining minions. Okay, there's the final thing. There's the worship action. Hokusai does not have Shield Slam, so that pillar is going to explode, and because of the collapse ability, whenever Zakol removes a pillar, he is able to damage an adjacent minion for 1 plus the flip. So that final minion is going to go away. That's 3 damage to that minion. And so overall, this is going to take a little bit of damage to Chris's base. Actually, with that case, there's only going to be 1 damage to Chris's base. So Chris is feeling pretty good about this. Again, of course, assuming both players are leading with 3s, this should be 1 damage to Chris's tower here. And I think Chris is going to be pretty okay with that. Based on where he started from this round, 1 damage to your tower is not too bad at all. So we're waiting to see, are there any end-of-round plays? Nope, 3-3. Yep, okay, so the final control value is 5-6 in favor of Tim. 1 damage to Chris's tower. And now we're going to go ahead and clean up the board and head into round 3. So now, let's see the ultimate fly. Although first, before we do that, you guys need to respawn minions. So I'm assuming that... let's give them a gentle reminder that you need minions. There we go. So 2 minions do respawn in. Gonna position, doesn't really matter where you position them, honestly, for Chris, because if Hokusai wants to blast everyone with a supernova, then all he really is going to do is either cast it right where he stands or move up one if he really wants to catch the Dark Vigilante in the blast as well. And honestly, why wouldn't you? Because it's awesome. And so, if Tim has the Supernova Ultimate, Hokusai's Ultimate, we are going to see a fairly destructive play, as that would hit a pillar, 2 minions, and several heroes. He may also opt to hold it onto it for later, but we'll wait and see to see what happens. We also did see the Glacial Rebirth card coming out from Freyhill, so she's not going to have that on hand to heal. Hokusai may actually just move over and catch Freyhill in the blast, as that would kill her. Supernova deals 4 damage to everybody within 2 hexes of Hokusai, and so even with her armor point, unless there is another Nourish or a Sacrifice card coming out from Chris, Freyhill would die to that explosion. So we will need to see what happens. Right now, Chris is leading an Onslaught 1-0, and the gentlemen are tied at 2 points of Tactician apiece. So, looks like Tim is ready to start round number 3, the ultimate round, or the round of the ultimates, I should say, as the ultimate round makes it sound like we're not going to have anything further. And of course, Ashen Pass keeps ticking up and up and up until somebody wins. So who will go first? With both Hokusai or Yami activated, actually with anybody activating, Freyhill can die. So the question is, do you want to kill Freyhill now and let Nelliclin spawn in ready, or do you want to leave Freyhill alive and kill her at the very end? Or do you just not want to kill Freyhill? Because there are 2 pillars on the field, and Nelliclin is going to be able to use them to fuel his mana, which means that Nelliclin can potentially have 6 mana this turn. And as we all know, Nelliclin is terrifying enough with 3 mana, let alone 6. So we'll see what happens here. So Hokusai is going to go ahead and move. Perhaps go for the attack action here, I assume. Try to knock off Freyhill with an attack. Tim's deck does have a number of high modifiers. All he needs is a +2 in order to kill Freyhill. Perfectly reasonable with his deck. And Hokusai is going to play a Granite Skin. So this will guarantee that he kills, as that is going to give, again, Hokusai 3 armor. Oh, okay, we're just going to do this. So you have Shield Slam. Now, again, you deal piercing damage equal to your armor, but Freyhill responds with a Psychic Shield. Psychic Shield reduces the damage dealt by power cards by 5, so the Shield Slam would deal 3 damage, but that's been nullified there. And so now Hokusai just says, all right, fine, we'll do this the old-fashioned way, worship, and we're going to go for an explosion on her, I assume, as this will not kill Hokusai, but it pretty much guarantees that we kill her. We do need to hit a +2 on the flip in order to kill her with the worship. But even if we only get a +1 for Tim to see, then we can still see Freyhill die from a supercharged skirmish action. Although you probably want to use that supercharged skirmish against either the Dark Vigilante or... oh, that's his Zakol. So yeah, probably against the Dark Vigilante. Or I guess you could skirmish and hit Shillavi. Or Zakol. You cannot hit Shillavi because that's 3 away. Okay, we're going to actually worship on Zakol. Interesting. So we're not, in fact, going for the grab Freyhill and explode on her play. So Zakol and Hokusai each going to go ahead and take 3 damage there. As a result, well, no, Hokusai can't cast Supernova anymore, as he did use the Granite Skin and the Shield Slam. So, not sure what we're going for here. Oh, we're changing Nelliclin's tokens out because none of us noticed until just now that that was actually Chris's Nelliclin that was thrown away, and Tim's was still on the board, which is in fact the exact opposite state of the board. So, those are the final actions from Hokusai, although it does look like he is committing to the skirmish action here, so I assume this one goes against Freyhill. This should deal 3 plus the flip. Yep, there's 5 damage. That is a dead Freyhill. And then we're going to go ahead and skirmish for Hokusai back down there. So dead Freyhill. However, Freyhill did not activate, which means it is time for the man, the myth, the legend, the 6-armed being himself, Nelliclin. Come on down. This is, of course, not The Price is Right, so we're going to stop that train of thought right there. So, that's 2 cards to Tim, 1 point of onslaught to Tim as well, but Nelliclin does come in ready for Chris now, and more importantly, Nelliclin is situated right next to his targets. So, what this means is that Yami cannot use Kneel Before Me to yank Nelliclin out of the line of sight of Hokusai if Nelliclin wants to do anything to Hokusai from where she's standing. Yami's ultimate allows you to grab someone and place them adjacent to her, but anywhere that's adjacent to Yami is still within 3 of Hokusai. And so if Nelliclin is ready to use some Rampant Hatred revenge, there's nothing Yami will be able to do to prevent it, at least from her ultimate. And here comes the Rampant Hatred. So Rampant Hatred gives your character +1 skirmish damage for every friendly hero in a line of sight, and then allows you to take a bonus skirmish action. So, Nelliclin currently has +3 on the skirmish. It is piercing. Hokusai does respond with a Psychic Shield, though, however. Because of the way the rules the way the rules activate here, that's funny. We'll talk about that in a second. Psychic Shield does currently block the damage from the Rampant Hatred, so the skirmish action has not been fully resolved, so I guess you have to use this particular skirmish against Yami, or against Zakol here. The Stone Barricade actually traps Nelliclin there, because you cannot move through that as it is a blocking element, and you can't skirmish through the minions or the heroes. So Nelliclin is actually not going to go anywhere this turn, without having to use the move action, but I can't really see that being too big of a deal after this resolves. If you want to do that, I'm not sure that I want to. So this skirmish action here does resolve at a +3. I have to assume you don't hit Hokusai with it. So we'll see what happens. Point from the... and a +3 on the flip, it looks like there. Was that a +3 on the flip, or was that just a random Psychic Shield coming out? Okay. Okay, +1 on the flip there, so that's going to be 4 damage, piercing. So Zakol now takes 4 damage, down to 13 HP. And as the chat pointed out, Nelliclin can do a double Rampant Hatred here. Yes, he can. The problem is that neither of those Rampant Hatreds can be used against Hokusai, because both of them would be negated by the Psychic Shield, or at least 5 damage from them would be negated from the Psychic Shield. Although with the second Rampant Hatred, that would give you a +6, so do you chance it with an attack? Probably not. I just don't think that's likely. Alright, so we are going to see an attack, so +2 on the attack against Hokusai. Unfortunately, that leaves Hokusai with 1. So, do you use the skirmish action here in order to kill the Hokusai? I kind of think you do, because you still get the +3 from Rampant Hatred, which means it's a guaranteed kill, even if you flip Strength over Pain. And then you can also potentially use a worship action to do another Rampant Hatred against Zakol after you're done. We'll see what Chris's action is as the hands dance all over the field. And once again, I wonder what they're talking about when I watch the hands dance all over the field frantically like that. So we do see a -1 on the flip from the skirmish. As I mentioned, that's going to be 2 skirmish damage. Hokusai is down. So that's going to put us on game point for Onslaught in Chris's favor. So Chris managed to successfully defend the Nexus Breach very well in turn 2. Now he has a chance to flip the tables here in turn number 3. Of course, this is only his first hero, and with only 2 heroes remaining, Tim is going to be in a bit of a rough spot here. So, I'm not sure what happened there about a whole bunch of +3s. Oh, no, he was discarding Hokusai's Psychic Shields. Okay, that's what happened there. So, we still do have a worship action coming through for Nelliclin, so we're going to go ahead and put another stone barricade, or we just... Okay, no, we're just tinting the stone barricade that Zakol played earlier. Or that Hokusai played earlier, whoever it was, I'm not sure which one. I have to assume it's Hokusai since he went back up to 3 mana after Tim threw away the cards from the hero. Alright, so we're going to go ahead. Nelliclin's worship ability, whenever you worship it, when you remove a pillar, you get to remove all face-up cards from Nelliclin. Of course, you do still keep their effects, which means Nelliclin still currently has a +3 skirmish damage bonus. And so if we see Consulting the Heart, which is Nelliclin's ultimate, which allows you to sift through your deck for a card, or another Rampant Hatred coming out, that's going to be a +6 Rampant Hatred for, excuse me, a +6 skirmish for Nelliclin, which means that Zakol will be brought within kill range. Shillavi can very easily finish the job. Or Chris's Zakol himself can finish the job, either one. So we'll have to see what is about to happen here, but instead we're going to see a lead. That means he does not have either Consulting the Heart or another Rampant Hatreds. That is a shame. I thought we were going to get to see some dirty Nelliclin tactics right as soon as he spawned in, and I was left disappointed. However, such is life. Meanwhile, it looks like our tracker update has completely broken the game, as Hokusai is now reported at 18 HP, and Zakol, Yami, and another Zakol on the field are reported as dead. So at this point, I have just assumed that the tracker has completely lost its mind, and will keep you updated on the overlay. Yami does have full HP at 18, and Tim's Zakol is at 13 HP. Chris's HP on the right side of your screen is perfectly accurate and up to date, so clearly I have to assume that Tim has done something to break the mod. I don't know what it is, not being a programmer myself, but nevertheless, shame on you, Tim. I can't believe you've done this. So, with Hokusai down, Chris has an advantage in hero control now, as the heroes do not respawn on the Ashen Pass here. Tim has lost 2 heroes. And there we go ahead and we see the Onslaught token coming out. 1 more, and Chris does win by killing the heroes, which is not something I would have thought I would have said at the beginning of the game, as Tim's deck seemed a little bit more designed for killing than Chris's, but I guess whenever you get the Double Dome round 1, that definitely helps killing people. Alright, so it looks like Tim is going to activate his Zakol. Let's see what happens. And a that's got to be a misfire. It says Hokusai plays Rampant Hatred. I have to assume Zakol plays Rampant. Okay, there we go. Zakol plays Rampant Hatred. So that's going to give Zakol a +2 bonus. As there are only 2 heroes alive for Tim. But this could still be effective. Nelliclin is at 14, and Chris's Zakol is at 11. And Nelliclin is going to play the Psychic Shield. So this is going to force the Rampant Hatred skirmish to begin against Zakol. So this is going to be 2+ the flip here. And that is a +1 on the flip. So 2 damage total brings Zakol down to 9. From this HP, I think you need to use Totemic Slam in order to kill Chris's Zakol. I could be wrong on that, but I think even with another skirmish, you can't do enough. Alright, looks like we do see an attack action or a regular skirmish. I'm not sure. Okay, that's an attack, I think. 4 damage there. So with a +2 skirmish, it is impossible to kill him with regular skirmish action. That's going to bring him down there. But, oh yeah, he can't play Totemic Slam. He just played Rampant Hatred. Duh. Yami could use Kneel Before Me to kill him, though. If Yami has Kneel Before Me, that with 3 HP left, Yami can just drag him over and finish the job. doesn't look like she had... Oh, no, wait. He played a Psychic Shield. Oh, no, that Psychic Shield was on Nelliclin, so yeah. Kneel Before Me could finish the job. Do we see that come out? I don't think we do, though. All right, so in this instance here, you have Shillavi and you have Zakol. I think in this case you activate Shillavi first, just because Tim might be waiting for Zakol's activation to use Kneel Before Me, and that way you basically waste Chris's turn, and then Yami gets to do something, which most likely would involve killing Nelliclin, or at least setting him up for a lot of damage, and then potentially moving into a dome. So I don't think we'll see Zakol die instantly here, and I think Chris would be better off if he activates Shillavi here. Excuse me. Pardon me. So we will see the end result. Now, I don't believe we've seen Dance of the Predator, although we just did a deck shuffle, so it doesn't really matter what we've seen and what we haven't seen. So Shillavi, using her ultimate, could, and combat in tangent with an attack, could potentially do enough damage to bring Zakol down. He's at 13. 4 from an attack. Let's see, we get a +1 there, so that's 4 damage. 2, maybe not. 13 HP is a little bit high with an armor point to consider. So let's see. Chris is going to go ahead and activate Zakol, it looks like. Okay, so we're going to get Zakol action before Yami kills him. Interesting. So Yami does not... do we have a response? That's the other option too, is you could send him into Zakol into the dome, which would force Yami to use a move or a skirmish, and then a worship action to get at Zakol, which would kind of waste her action economy. And then, although that does still mean that you'll get the terror at the end of the round, so we'll see. All right, +1 on the skirmish there. No damage to Timbunn's control, or Timbunn's Zakol there. Now, you could also see a Totemic Slam come out from... Uh-oh, here comes the Flux. Is this going to be a Shield Slam? Zakol is going to play Impervious. Okay, so Impervious gives 2 armor to the target. And so I assume this is going to be an attack action here. So this is going to do 4 damage minus 3 armor, or 1 damage total to Tim Zakol here. Do you go for the push? I can't really see any benefit. Although I guess if you do push him there, then Shillavi doesn't need to move in order to attack him. But if you're going to use a skirmish or a Dance of the Predator, movement isn't really a problem anyways. Let's see. Chris has 3 cards in hand versus Tim's 2 cards in hand. So, still a possibility exists. So someone from the chat said that the push is mandatory. It is not. That is incorrect. The push is a may command, and so you do not have to push Zakol if you do not want to. So it looks like Chris is probably not going to end up pushing. Otherwise, I feel like he would have moved right now by then. So it looks like we are going to go for a move. So Zakol is going to go over there. And doesn't really matter. You can't hide from Yami with a move action anyways. She'll still be able to teleport in on you. But that at least makes it so that she has to move and then worship against you. And then attack you, so you could end up taking the dome with a Shillavi lead action. You could move, skirmish into the dome, and then lead. And that would get you the dome at the cost of nothing, actually. You would tie in the lane. So that might actually be the correct play there. And then you would be able to spawn the terror basically right next to Yami. And potentially your Shillavi, depending on where you entered. Okay, so let's see what happens here. So, Yami is going to activate, of course. We are going to see the move action, I assume. 1, 2, 3. Yep, we're going after Zakol. This makes perfect sense. If I'm Tim, I would agree with this 100%. We worship on Zakol, teleport ourselves onto him, deal 1 plus the flip damage here. Not likely to kill unless we hit a +3. Oh, there's the +3. Okay. That's what Tim wanted to see. So that's going to kill Zakol, and that's going to leave Yami open to lead and make it so that Shillavi has to go into the dome with a lead action if she wants to tie in dome number 2. And there's the lead from the hand as well. All right, so now Chris has some options. You can move, you can skirmish into the dome and then lead from hand, and tie both the lane and the dome. But we'll see what happens. This is where it comes down to every single AP counts, as both players are down to 2 heroes with that kill. Tim is also now on game point for Onslaught. 1 more kill for either of these players does win the game. We do see that Zakol is at 12 HP, a little bit lower than Nelliclin, but Zakol does have an armor point, which does make him a little bit more durable overall. However, of course, Nelliclin can deal piercing damage, so if Zakol is unable to kill Nelliclin first next turn, or at all, then Nelliclin might just be able to kill off Zakol with some additional Rampant Hatred, Skirmish, whatever other doodlebugs and bamboozlings that Nelliclin can do. I'm disappointed we did not get to see a 6-mana Nelliclin play this turn, but such is the case when you don't have the cards necessary to fuel such a play. Let's see. I'm also surprised. We've only seen Skytear discharges as flips, but with Yami on the field, it's kind of hard. All right, so we are going to go ahead and worship. So this means that Dance of the Predator is coming out. There it is. All right, Dance of the Predator. So Dance of the Predator is Shillavi's ultimate. And the way this works is you move Shillavi 3 hexes, deal 2 plus a flip, or in this case just 2 damage total to an adjacent enemy. Then if Shillavi is shapeshifted, you may repeat both effects an additional time. So we are going to go ahead and... Okay. We're just going to let... Okay. All right. So we're just going to let the terror spawn, it looks like. And in exchange... Oh, okay. So we're going to go over there. That makes sense. That makes sense. And then we're going to move into the dome over there. That makes much more sense. Okay. So now, the Dark Vigilante is going to spawn. And more importantly... actually, no, it doesn't matter because Chris is not going to do anything here. So the Dark Vigilante will have to spawn from Tim's base, because even though Chris wins by 1 in the control point here, nobody's going to move. Those minions are all going to stay put, and Nelliclin is occupying the 3rd hex, which means that the Dark Vigilante cannot spawn down here once again. That being said, with a move and a skirmish action, the Dark Vigilante will be able to get to Zakol, which means that I think Chris might be able to win with some good flips. We'll see what happens. So, first the Terror Bear has to spawn. Terror Bear must appear in a hex, a cover hex that is. And now the Dark Vigilante must spawn down at Tim's Nexus. So, let's see. If you did move, skirmish, no. Okay, so you must use a move action and then a skirmish if you want to attack the dark, or you want to attack Zakol. That makes perfect sense. Interestingly enough, though, the Terror of the Endless Night could have been used defensively here to kind of neuter the Dark Vigilante. You could have summoned him in the bear in the cover hex that is nearest to Tim's base, and then regardless of where the Dark Vigilante spawned... Oh, yes, actually, if you place him there, you can do a double skirmish, so you can get both the +1 and the piercing. Use that... No. Actually, I never done it. Doesn't matter. Still 4. That's fine. I was about to yell at you for doing bad math, but that's fine. That'll still get you there. So yeah, you can actually do 2 skirmish actions and then an attack against Zakol. But if you would have spawned the Terror, you could easily have just grabbed him and disarmed him, which means that all of his attack values would be cut in half. So in this situation, looks like we're going to pump up Zakol for the Nelliclin kill, which means that I believe this is going to come down to if the Dark Vigilante does not kill Zakol, then I think that Zakol just kills Nelliclin. Unless, of course, there is a sinkhole. A sinkhole would be extremely beneficial to stopping the Zakol murder on Nelliclin next turn. But we'll have to see how this plays out. So, the bear, of course, could also grab Nelliclin and just toss him into the dome. I'm not sure really what benefit that will get you. But, let's think. Okay, oh yeah, we also do have to put Tactician points down, so Tactician 2 points there for Chris, 1 more point for Tim. Don't really think it matters because one of these players is about to win by Onslaught. So, but nevertheless, of course, we do need to keep track of proper record keeping in case really weird things happen. Not likely, but, you know, of course, you want to make sure that you account for everything properly. So the bear does get to go first as it was spawned from dome number 2. And again, I don't like this this Terror positioning. You could have put the bear down near Tim's base and then just completely crippled the Dark Vigilante. It doesn't get you any closer to... Okay. Interesting. So we're going for the 3 against Nelliclin. All right, so I guess we're softening Nelliclin up. And then do you skirmish backwards and then give Zakol Frenzy? But then you could have just pulled Nelliclin and given him Disarm and then skirmished against him anyways. Interesting. Not sure if this was optimal. It does definitely help advance Tim toward his goal of killing off Nelliclin for the victory here, but we'll see what the rest of the play is. Looks like a move action. Okay, so we did also see Zakol's ultimate. So Zakol's ultimate is off the table for helping to kill Nelliclin. And then we're... Okay. Okay. I can appreciate this. So, that was unorthodox, but, you know, sometimes you need to do some unorthodox things to save the day. So, what just happened there was that the bear ended up moving into the cover hex and then using the Dreadful Majesty to grab his own person, Zakol, drag him over into the minion pile up there, and then put the disarm on him so that the Dark Vigilante can't get to him. That's hilarious. That's actually really creative. I can't say that I would have thought of doing that myself. And so, you know what? I'm actually going to say that was pretty good. So we're going to see the Dark Vigilante move. The Dark Vigilante is going to go ahead and skirmish. No, I think you want to put that down so that Yami can't get next to Nelliclin, because otherwise Yami just worship attacks skirmishes against Nelliclin. And then possibly a Kneel... Well, I guess Kneel before me, you would just drag him out anyway, so it doesn't matter. But I think the Dark Vigilante needs to end up next to Nelliclin. Otherwise, this is not going to end well. Okay, so we do see a +2 on the flip, so that's going to be a dead minion. We're going to skirmish down there. There are no additional minions. Do you... Yeah, I mean, you just kind of end your point there. And so now Yami at least cannot get next to Nelliclin without casting Kneel before me to drag him. So that was very interesting. I am very impressed at the use of the Terror there. It's not quite what I would have done, but I think ultimately it did accomplish the same goal, which was preventing Zakol from getting killed. Although, had the Terror spawn down towards Tim's Nexus, you could have accomplished the Terror stopping the DV from killing him without the disarm, I think. Although if you're going to go and kill minions as Tim next turn, you're not really concerned about the disarm. Nelliclin does have 10 hit points, so with a Kneel Before Me, Yami is certainly capable of doing that. But with the Dark Vigilante's positioning where it is, you do have to burn one action as a move or a skirmish in order to just get into range and be able to drag Nelliclin out. And of course, if Nelliclin does have a sinkhole, then Nelliclin could just simply sinkhole himself in place and make it so that he's not going anywhere. So now this comes down to, I think, can Tim kill Nelliclin? Otherwise, Nelliclin just kills Zakol. Is, I think, what we're going to end up seeing here. And we're activating Zakol. Okay. Are you going to try to run Zakol away? Ah, no! We're going to have Zakol play Doom against Nelliclin. So there is going to be no shenanigans out of Nelliclin unless he goes and burns the worship action. So Nelliclin is going to lose Sacrifice. So actually, that's only one mana. That's not bad. That means that Nelliclin can still use Rampant Hatred or an ultimate. That's actually really what Chris wanted to see at this point. So unfortunately, Tim was trying to go for the 3-mana flip there against Nelliclin. Did not get it. But nevertheless, is there another Doom potentially that could come down? We shall see. We are in turn 4, of course, so each hero does get 4 mana. We did see the Totemic Slam be flipped already, so we know that Tim does not have Totemic Slam in his hand. Not that it would really be that much use anyways right now, as you do need to be adjacent to your target, and it is impossible currently for him to get next to Nelliclin. All right, so Tim is going to go ahead and worship, so he's going to go ahead and destroy the pillar there and destroy a minion. Okay, so now you could potentially get there with a move action. Okay, there's the Kneel Before Me. So we know that Yami cannot cast Kneel Before Me either. And so with that disarm, Zakol is not going to be able to kill Nelliclin. There are, yeah, Charm cannot be played by Zakol here to remove the disarm. So even if there's a Rampant Hatred play, I don't see him dealing enough damage in order to kill Nelliclin, but we'll see what happens here. Looks like a move action coming out from Zakol, and then I assume an attack? Ah, okay, there was a Clear Mind. Wait a minute. Okay, I did miss the Clear Mind. All right, so Clear Mind does remove conditions and then give +1 attack to the player, or to the caster. So I did miss that one. So this actually does remove the disarm and makes it so this is going to be 4 plus a flip here. So we're going to have to see, does Nelliclin respond with a sinkhole in order to prevent this attack? As with, at 4 HP, Shillavi can easily come in and finish the job here, if necessary. But we need to wait and see what happens. Looks like there is not been an attack declared just yet. I think Chris may have a response. We'll see. Otherwise, this is going to hurt. I don't think you kill Nelliclin here unless you also have a... Okay, so we're going to skirmish? 1, 2, 3... what are we... Okay, that seems like a random time to move there. Are you attacking the Dark Vigilante? That doesn't make any sense. Dark Vigilante's got 19 HP and 1 armor. Nelliclin's got 10 HP, or 11 HP. Or are you just going to try and skirmish the Zakol into the dome and then potentially Skytear discharge Nelliclin if he tries to chase him? Nope. Okay, we're putting him back. That's perfectly fine. Zakol does have 2 mana after using both Doom and Clear Mind, so we know that a Rampant Hatred can't come out from him. Well, let's see, what else could potentially... A Shield Slam could... We could see a Granite Skin come out. That is a possibility. Or 2 Granite Skins. That would actually give enough that you could kill Nelliclin if 2 Granite Skins were played. Oh no, he's already used 2 actions. You will not be able to deal 11 damage in 1 action, I don't think. As there are no let's see. Okay, so Zakol is going to still do a lot of damage here. So Granite Skin comes down again, gives +1 armor, and then gives you skirmish damage equal to your armor. So that's going to be 2 armor to Zakol and 2 skirmish damage to Zakol. Okay, so we're going to use a Shield Slam. Okay, that's going to deal 2 damage to Neliclin, bringing him down to 9. Still not enough to kill, as Zakol is currently 4+ a flip on the attack action. But that is going to bring him dangerously low. That will bring him, and that will of course apply slow as well from the Shield Slam. Shield Slam does piercing damage equal to the caster's armor and applies slow to a target adjacent. So Neliclin will take 2 damage there and be slowed. Attacks still on the table here could do 4 to 7 damage. Not enough to kill Neliclin. And Zakol is out of mana, so it's not like he's going to be able to finish the job there. Let's see. I think at this point you have to activate Neliclin, and then just kill Zakol, because otherwise Yami just finishes the job. All right, so +2 on the flip there. I assume that was from the attack, so Neliclin does take 6 damage, down to 3. And with 1 card in hand, but no mana on Zakol, Neliclin comes out with the Rampant Hatred. Okay, so Neliclin gets +1 on the skirmish damage. That's really all he wants. Hokusai is going to play a Stone Barricade. Nope. Okay, we're just calling the game right there. So that is it. Zakol, Tim realizes that Zakol cannot survive that, and so we do see he's going to end up, Zakol will end up dying, and so therefore Chris wins by Onslaught. So let's go ahead and jump in and talk with the players.
Because I did math wrong. If I had just moved and then skirmished to here,
you have
to play defensively and then play the barricade to defend myself.
I can still just get in the dome here, right? I just moved,
stops. So you
skirmish, Rampant
the
Hatred.
first one, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
Just make it harder at least.
Yeah, you'd at least have some out, kind of.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, good game. That was awesome to watch.
Thanks.
Thank
It
you.
was fun.
That was exciting. I was like going back and forth. I'm like, Tim's in the lead, Chris is in the lead, Tim's in the lead, Chris is in the lead.
That's what you want to see, right?
That terror play was nice.
Yeah.
That was a nice terror play.
So I also had the alternative of so the thing was down here.
Mm-hmm.
If I had
Here's the Cole was
here, yeah, and then put him up here. But then I would have to leave the terror here, and I couldn't get Yami in to try to finish the job if I needed to.
Yeah. I can still reach you a little bit.
Well, you get 1 skirmish on me, which wouldn't have been enough to kill me, I don't think.
No, I had the 1, because you doomed me, and that was this. Or no, I drew the rampant. Yeah, so it would have been +1. It wouldn't have been enough. It would have been 2.
Yeah, so because I was at 5, I think, right?
Yeah, something like that. Or 5 or 4. Yeah.
I don't know. But, so those were the 2 outs for me not to lose there. But then by moving the bear over here,
It's perfect.
I keep this open. But then you played around me and did good things. And...
Well, I did what you did. I was like, yeah, I had to do that.
Yeah.
I only had just... Good.
And then I just couldn't get in there. If I could have had 3 actions on him, I could have gotten it, but...
Yep.
I'm curious. Yep. I mean, obviously, what you did, obviously, to protect Zakol, Tim, but I'm curious why you didn't put the terror, like, either in one of these hexes, and then just kind of use it to cripple the Dark Vigilante. Did you need the damage on Neliclin from the skirmish, or...?
I think so. So
okay. My
original plan was to skirmish and attack him with the bear, and then I just think that I have to kill Neliclin pretty early, especially if I'm going to be over, like, if this is just nothing,
right?
If I just dismantle this guy and don't do any damage with him, then Neliclin sort of just has free reign to get to me wherever I want to go.
Okay.
So I just need to get the damage in and try to kill Neliclin on my first activation.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then I also knew that I had these cards to do a lot of damage.
Right.
And I did math wrong twice because I also forgot that Zakol only has 1 armor. So I played the Granite Skin to go up to 3 in my head because I'm used to playing on Hokusai. Not that would have made a difference in the final numbers, but in my like convincing myself to do it plan, that was like, okay, so I can go up to 3. I can get 3 with the Shield Slam. So that's 6 plus my flip. You know, that's going to be 8, maybe 9, and then I get an attack to try to win. But I had to worship to get it there, and then I had to move to get in.
Very close. Yeah.
Well, it was a very well played game by both of you, and so congratulations, Chris, on being the American Regionals Championship player, and of course Tim as well. You're at 2nd place, so still hold your head high. You did a great job in this tournament as well.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
A great job, man.
Yeah, it was a really fun game.
And I believe with this, both of you are into Worlds. Is that correct? Or Tim, okay? Because I know we get the plus 50% Skytear shards. So this would be worth what, 14 to you, I believe, since we round up. So
he should be close then.
Yeah. How many shards do you get for 2nd place?
14 for this event.
Jeez.
Yeah.
And you need how many to qualify?
18.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm close. If not, I think I can just play in.
Yeah, you can
just play one.
Yeah.
Show up, we hear your beautiful voice, and we give you a shard as a payment.
Yeah, exactly. Boom.
Sweet.
That was a really fun game, Chris.
Yeah, good game, man.
In the beginning, I had to decide. I was trying to push Nexus just to make you leave the domes alone. Because I don't think that I can. I mean, my deck is obviously designed to kill people, and so I'm bad at competing for the domes, especially with my opening hand. I only had 1 3-mana card, and it was Yami's ult. And it's like, oh, that sucks. And so it's like, I can't win both domes for sure. So I'm just going to put as much pressure in the middle as possible.
Yeah, that's why I go 2nd usually against these flip decks. I didn't know you were a flip deck, but then eventually I figured it out.
What took it away? And then I didn't have anything like impactful to use my flex on, which is always a bummer.
Yeah.
Like if I could have gotten a Rampant Hatred or something.
Is that your only 3s other than the ults?
Right? Let me look. I think that's right. I made a lot of changes right before the tournament.
I don't think I saw any unstoppables or anything.
It was there are not very many, if any. All right, here it is. My 3s were Rampant Hatred. Yep. And then my ults. But last minute before the tournament, I was switching like numbers of things in and out. So that was, you get it. You guys get it. You play Skytear. Yep. That was really fun.
That was a great game again.
Yeah, thanks.
And thanks RG for streaming it.
Of course, my pleasure.
That was a last minute thing. My schedule has been real busy as of late. So
hey, don't want to kind of like rub salt on it there, but like my schedule is not at all. So I'm on Thanksgiving break, courtesy of a lucky wind blast that took out my place's power, and so our headmaster just said, you know what, we're just going to start Thanksgiving break a couple days early. We'll see you guys in December. So I'm very flexible, always willing and glad to bring everyone Skytear content, so not a problem.
Cool.
All right, well, good luck at Worlds, Chris.
Yeah, you too. If you decide to play, because I think you can just get in, show up.
All right, well, thank you very much. On behalf of Chris and Tim, and as well as myself, thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you guys all on the next game. Have a good night.
Good night.